Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the meeting of the Richmond City Council for Monday, February 23rd, 2026 to order. May I have a motion on the minutes? Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Madam Clerk, any agenda additions or deletions?
None, your worship.
Okay, may I have a motion to resolve any committee of the whole to hear delegations on items that are on the agenda? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, is there anybody here from the public who wishes to speak to council on an item on the agenda? Anyone? I have a motion to rise and report. Second. All those in favor, opposed, carried. That brings us to the consent agenda. We have the receipt of committee minutes, 2026 local general and school election, appointment of a chief election officer and the deputy, the City of Vancouver's official development plan, the opportunity to provide feedback. We've got two 2025 annual reports and 2026 work plans. First of all, for Food Security and Agricultural Advisory Committee, and secondly, for the Richmond Advisory Committee on the Environment. Following that, we have the review of the requirement for bike bells and a land use application for first, second, and third reading. That's the zoning amendments relating to the vehicle parking, access, and maneuvering for small-scale multi-unit housing. May I have a motion to adopt items 6 through 12A by general consent? Second. Moved and seconded. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just I'll be in support of everything on the consent agenda. I'll just speak to three items briefly. Just first to correct the committee minutes. We just got some on table in front of us. And it doesn't show that I attended the planning committee on February 18th, but I was there and I did speak to some items on that at that agenda, on that meeting. Anyways, clerks know about it and they'll correct it. We're just receiving it for information anyway. Item number 8, that's the City of Vancouver's official development plan. So like we have the OCP, they're doing this ODP opportunity. And although staff looked at it and decided that there was no concerns, and that was at planning committee as well, I raised that I have looked into this and have found many concerns from residents and groups and council members in Vancouver. Just going a little bit further than I mentioned at the planning committee, for anyone to look into. There is a group of about 20 different areas in Vancouver that are under an umbrella group called the Coalition of Vancouver Neighborhoods. And they do see that there's really no neighborhood-based planning. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all development plan. That there's not enough provision of green space, embodied emissions are too high, inadequate city services and amenities, and on and on. Now, it's not, I don't think it's enough for me to say that we should be telling that municipality to scrap the plan. We do kind of have to see how it plays out, and it is somewhat of a long-term plan that will have different elements that come and go. So I think there's definitely potential concern, and we can debate how our council could make an official comment on it. But again, it is a plan. They haven't followed through with any of those parts yet. So I think at this stage we can allow it to go ahead as we have at committee. And then finally, item number 11, the review of requirement for bike bells. Riding a bike recently, I think I aim to use the bell every time I'm out there, and I definitely see the value of a helmet, a light, and a bell if you're using the bike to go on multi-use pathways, on roads, as opposed to driving it to a location where it's just used at the bike park or some other facility where there's just bikes. So I'll be supporting all the items on the consent agenda. Thanks.
Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I too will be supporting everything on tonight's consent agenda. While I don't think we necessarily need to legislate a good idea requiring bike bells, I'm not going to vote against it. I think it'll be a good first start. And the most important piece of it will be the education piece, is teaching our kids. We already do a pretty comprehensive program where the city provides bike lessons to all, I believe it's grade 5 and 6 students over a two-year plan. All the kids in the elementary schools get bike lessons. with that bike lesson will be the importance of using a bell to warn people that you're coming up on them. So it's about respect, it's about the rules of the road, and that's the most important piece, is that will be heavily there'll be a lot more focus on that piece of it because it is a rule. So I'm glad that this is moving forward. The other thing is the parking on the small multi-unit housing projects. Now, this has come up, we're making some adjustments to this because of feedback we've received from builders, homeowners, designers, and clarification was needed by staff. So question to staff, what is the change we're making here, please?
Through your worship to Councillor Liu, there are essentially 5 minor amendments that are proposed as part of this package. The first one being, and all of them generally being, to align the same parking needs and requirements that exist for single family to apply also to a small scale multi-unit housing development. The first proposed change largely deals with setting a minimum on-site parking requirement at 0.5 spaces per unit, standardizing driveway widths for all RSM or small-scale multi-unit housing development, enabling the consideration of reduced maneuvering aisles for development on small-scale multi-unit housing lots, as well as providing an avenue for the city to provide alternative access on a case-by-case basis, and permit all residential development on RSM lots to allow for up to 50% of the required on-site parking to be provided as small car spaces.
Okay, thank you. So that, the alternative entrance, that's alleys or side lot, or what is an alternative?
Through your worship to Councillor Liu, that would be like in an example where you do have access to a laneway, but there is already an existing access, say from the fronting road, something very common that you would see in Brookville, for example.
Okay. And will we be reviewing this again in a year to see that we've made the right changes, or are we just waiting to see if we get some more feedback from homeowners, builders, and everybody else?
Through your worship to Councillor Liu, staff continue to monitor that through both our planning and development applications division as well as our building applications team. We'll continue to review and update the bylaws based on the feedback, and as staff implement these changes and the zoning bylaw, if any further changes are needed, we'll bring those to council for consideration.
Well, thank you for your responsiveness.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, just quickly, before you gentlemen go, just a quick question. I have to follow up on that, and it's one of the questions. Thank you for the clarity on that. Have we run this by any potential developers that would do this kind of development? Do we have any enrichment as examples to start with?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, the requested changes are a result of some of the feedback that we have directly received from developers based on real permits that have been applied for.
So small builders and UDI and company. Okay, thank you very much. I will be supporting it, obviously. Thank you. And I'll be supporting the item on the bells. I put helmets, reflectors, and bells on bicycles. I think it rhymes nicely, the fact that we're even bringing it forward. I think Councillor Liu put it quite vociferously in terms of why we're doing it. But I think the fact that we're even concerned and we put it into a bylaw just shows how concerned we are and serious we are about it, because there is an issue out there and people have to realize there is an issue on it. And I know we offer in grade 5 and 6, but I'd like to see extended in the high schools as well. Even with our electric bikes or scooters and those kinds of things, and offer education workshops at our community centers. I think we can do it with the RCMP and Hub involved and have a bike safety month or whatever to just enforce this. Nothing is worse, I think, to individuals as they're walking down the railway laneway, and all of a sudden comes up on you, somebody comes up behind you, or you feel the wind of somebody passing you. And I think it's important that we do that. So we've got it's interesting when to see Railway Greenway with the number of users per day, the metrics are starting to show that we need this kind of thing. So I'll be supporting it. Good work in bringing it forward, and more to come, I'm sure. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. So on the agenda is number 7, which is the local election appointment of the chief electoral officer. And just for everyone's information, the election will be on Saturday, October 17th. Number 8 is the Vancouver Official Development Plan. It's quite a big document, and it talks about where Vancouver is going in the future. But there are no plans for the Knight Street corridor. But on page 74, it states that potential public transit enhancements along Knight Street, future high-capacity transit link. This is going to be critical for the successful movement of people. But I have spoken to our transportation staff, and while there are no plans in place at this time, at least they acknowledge that that is something that needs to be looked at in the long run. Number 11 is the bike bells. As Chair of Public Works and Transportation Committee, I can't tell you how long the conversation was on this issue. In one way, it might seem kind of redundant. I mean, how do we enforce it? But the reality is a rule, and most people will follow rules if they're in the books. But I'm really pleased that we made a decision to send a letter to the Ministry of Transportation, because there are 3 other cities in Metro Vancouver that require bike bells, and really it should be across the entire province. So once again, Richmond's taking the lead. And number 12A is the vehicle parking. And you know, I'm concerned, like, as I read the parking chart, which is on page 161 of our binder here, we're basically going to reduce it from 1 parking spot for a 15-meter wide lot to half a parking spot. Not sure how that's going to work if people all have cars and the road is full of cars. I believe a smart builder will make sure there is a parking spot for every person who has a unit, whether they're renting it or buying it. I think it is not very many people that can completely live without a vehicle, because we all have guests visit as well. So I'm hoping that the builders will look at this and realize we are giving them this great way to build as quickly as possible and get more small-scale multi-unit housing. But at the same time, it would be smart to take a sober second look and make sure that they do the best they can to make each unit as livable as possible. That's it for me. Thank you.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, quickly, I just need clarification on the bike bell issue, because there's 3 parts of the recommendation here, Mayor, and I think you were the one that discussed the third one. You'd send a letter to the Minister of Transportation, but nothing in there talks about helmets, which we already know is governed under the Motor Vehicle Act, or reflectors. So I'm just wondering if we may, we've got councillors talking about that, wondering if we may want to add in your letter something with respect to that, because this is just specific to bike bells. And I agree on the education, I agree especially on the helmet side and possibly the reflector side. So I'm just wondering if you know, a few comments in your letter regarding some of the ongoing Motor Vehicle Act requirements for cyclists.
Well, maybe I could ask staff to clarify, but my understanding is that throughout the province, it is mandatory that we have helmets. Where we have the inconsistency is with the bike bells, where we have a number, just in Metro Vancouver, we've got a number that require them and a number that do not require them. So we're saying we're going to require it, and we should send a letter to the minister and various others to say this should be the situation throughout the province, so it's consistent everywhere. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Worship, that is correct. The Motor Vehicle Act has a gap right now in its requirements for bells only pertaining to e-scooters. This recommendation addresses that and supplements the Motor Vehicle Act with a local bylaw. The other requirements, as mentioned by Councillor Heed, are already within the regulations of the Motor Vehicle Act.
Right, so we don't need to remind the province of those, we just have to ask them to make the bike bell provisions universal.
Through Your Worship, that's correct, and staff do continue to educate the public regarding the safety of wearing a helmet, appropriate equipment, including a bell and reflectors.
I think we have to remind the province of a lot of things, but that's separate. But can you just answer the question, because I'm gone out of this enforcement capacity when we start to have these scooters in place. What is the requirement for scooters and helmets?
Through your worship to Councillor Heath, they are required to wear, a scooter rider is required to wear a helmet under the Motor Vehicle Act.
Regardless if they're on a multi-use pathway, on a roadway, or some, unfortunately, on the sidewalks?
Through your worship to Councillor Heath, any public roadway or pathway.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So let's call the question on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. So we have two items that have come off the consent agenda. The first one is number 13, which talks about the Richmond Celebrates Soccer signature event location and the proposed business terms for the contribution agreement. And the way that reads is it is the recommendation of the General Purposes Committee. First of all, that option 1, Aberdeen Neighborhood Park, be approved as the preferred location for the event as detailed in the report and sets it out. Secondly, that the proposed business terms as detailed in Table 3 of that same report be approved for the development of contribution agreement with Tourism Richmond and the Richmond Hotel Association. And thirdly, that staff be authorized to take all necessary steps to complete all matters detailed herein, et cetera, just talking about the administration of it all. And I would so move. Second. So that's moved and seconded. The contentious part of this seemed to be whether we should use Aberdeen Neighborhood Park or Minaroo Park. We received, I think, a subsequent memo specifically talking about the difficulties of using Minaroo Park just because it's so popular and used for so many different purposes. And it would be, in my opinion, it's a good idea to use the Aberdeen Neighborhood Park because it's a different area of the city and it'll be more inclusive. So I will support this motion. Councillor Day.
So there's 3 parts to this motion, and I'm fine with 2 and 3, but I'm not fine with option 1, which is the Aberdeen Neighborhood Park. And if we refer to the report on page 102, it says that there's a limited street parking. This is accurate. That it's that the road closure and traffic control requirements would be required to close the roads to accommodate anybody. And other than the raised stage, which is handy, I just feel that whenever we've had a big event, we've usually have it at Minaroo. Like I'm thinking back to when we had the 2010 Winter Olympics, and we had this big, huge celebration in Minaroo Park, and it was highly successful, and it was in the evening, when people aren't jogging and doing other events there. So I feel with something as important as this soccer signature event, we should have it in a place that everybody knows. And a lot of people don't even know where Aberdeen Park is. A lot of people I've spoken to say, well, I've never even heard of a park in that area. But when it comes to the funding, it is $600,000 for the various events throughout the time, but $400,000 of that's coming from tourism and $200,000 from the city of Richmond. So I'm good with 2 and 3, but I remain opposed to the location of Aberdeen Neighborhood Park because I just don't think that's the right location for such a significant soccer event. Thank you.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'm supportive of the recommendation. I'm supportive of all 3. I hear what Councillor Day is saying, and it is definitely more common to have big events at Minaroo. But over the years, it's been with the new senior center and the new pool and reduced parking for various reasons. It just isn't feasible to bring more visitors to Minaroo Park, I don't think, until we've addressed the parking situation there. So we don't want people, I don't think we want people taking their cars to this event, and I think that Aberdeen Park is closer to the Aberdeen SkyTrain station. So I think it's a good opportunity to get to know this new park, and I think it's a good opportunity for people in North and East Richmond to have a location that they can get to easier than Minaroo. You know, it's I just don't think that the seniors and the people that want to use Minaroo Park and the, you know, the football is activated at that time of year in the Oval, and I just don't think it can take 9,000 more visitors for something that not everybody wants to be a part of. I think the Olympics, everybody wanted to be a part of that, but not everybody is a soccer fan. So, I definitely hear what you're saying, but I'm excited about seeing what happens at Aberdeen Park. So looking forward to doing something different, and I'll support what the recommendations.
All right, then I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed? So it is carried with Councillor Day opposed. Sorry? Oh, I didn't separate them this time. Does it matter? Okay, so that'll be on part one. On number 2 and 3, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That brings us to the other item where there was a difference of opinion. And that's the analysis of the financial resources and requirements of the Refuge Church Salvation Army in the parish of St. Albans. And the General Purposes Committee recommendation was that funding option for 2, the Refuge Church, in the amount of $75,000, with funding coming from the Council Community Initiative account as outlined in this report, be approved. And secondly, that funding option 2 for the Salvation Army in the amount of $20,000 with funding coming from the Council Community Initiative account as outlined in the report be approved. Someone want to move that? So that is moved and seconded. At committee, we had a motion to table this, this set of recommendations. And the idea was that we are having, there's a report coming back next Monday to General Purposes Committee. And that report, or the referral, says, as an interim measure prior to certain updates and certain plans being presented to Council for consideration later this year, further to a funding decision that staff provide, 1, an overview of the current provision of community outreach and other services to individuals experiencing homelessness in Richmond, including schedules, funding, and services delivered. And secondly, an overview of community programs addressing food insecurity in Richmond, including schedules, funding, and services delivered. So as to give a bigger picture of the situation. So I am going to make that same motion to table what is on the agenda here until the General Purposes Committee meeting next week, when we expect a reply to that referral. So I'm moving that right now. Is there a seconder? So that's moved and seconded. Now, for those who want to talk to the issue of tabling, it is delegable by any councillor, but it's only on the merits of tabling. I think the request for funding came through the grants process, and reference was made to the grant, the amounts that were given to the Refuge Church and the Salvation Army last year. And from my point of view, having that report that is the subject matter of that referral will give us a bigger overview of the situation, and it will make the whole situation more accountable so that, we can make the spending decision at that time. And so therefore, I will support the motion to table, which is on the floor. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I'll support the motion to table, because I struggled to vote against that, because I wanted to see the bigger picture. And I don't think by just closing something like this, we're going to get a big picture, and we're not going to deal with it. We'll put it on the shelf and it'll come back next year. We have a crisis out there, Your Worship. We have various issues, and is dear to my heart, each of these organizations, and I've supported them ever since they've been in Richmond. I've been in Richmond. But all groups need to be looked at in terms of the issues that are out there, so that we can be not only accountable, but Your Worship, but we can focus even more money in some areas, even more than they ask. I looked at the, if I may, in support of tabling, we may support more specific initiatives that are on in the groups. I get some of the letters looking at the impact of the food programs, for example, and outlining what we're doing. And are we prepared, unless the city's prepared to feed the hungry directly, etc. But we need to look at all of them. So are we prepared to put more resources into it? And some of the groups have been doing that for 5 years, and that's great. And they'll probably do it for another 5 years, but maybe we need to re-look at what we have, as opposed to just kind of get to the bare minimum. These people have done a magnificent job, continue to do a magnificent job. However, they're only asking, in a way, for them to carry on in a bare minimum way. And I think they deserve better, and I think we can contribute better to it. But I think we have to be accountable. We have to look at it in the bigger and broader picture. And I believe that report is coming next Monday. And come next Monday, I'm prepared to see that these both come back on the table, if indeed they're tabled for now. But for now, I'll support the table. I'm being consistent because I want to give them the money. It's not as if I don't. I want to give them the money with my vote. Okay, thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do not support tabling it. Reasons why. We're talking about using funds from the Council Community Initiative account, which fits directly with these organizational needs. What is recommended tonight is these organizations maintaining current levels of service. So we can get next week's agenda, which isn't certain. We don't have a copy of it yet. It might not be on there. But if it is, then yeah, we can consider the expansion of services for organizations that are helping vulnerable people in our community. We cannot replace the work they do with our own city staff for anywhere close to this value and cost and the relationships that they have forged. So I don't support tabling it.
Councillor Glanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I also don't support tabling this. When we were at the night when we were deciding on the health, social, and safety grants, we brought forward giving these three organizations their additional funding requests that night. And we ended up doing a referral motion instead to have staff come back with a report last week with options for these three organizations. So this is a result of that referral. Then there was an additional referral to let's look at the big picture. My understanding is that looking at the big picture, if there's an ongoing need, we can get a better idea of an ongoing need in a way that we can consistently support these organizations going forward, so that we don't have to keep doing this every year and having this discussion and doing a one-time funding, but rather have either a contribution agreement similar to what we do with Therapeutic Riding Association, for example, or a budgeted line item that we would approve in November for funding for 2027, then that's what I could see, depending on what comes forward. But as Councillor Wolf said, we don't know what's coming forward. We don't know what's going to be in the report. But what we do know is we've been given a lot of information from the organizations that manage these services that have been going on for many, many years. The Food Aid Delivery Coalition, as we know, is a collaborative process between many, many, many churches and their community meals. And then some warm meals are given to the outreach workers to deliver to the people that are experiencing homelessness all over the city. They don't necessarily have the mobility or the ability to get to the drop-in center during the day or find a meal anywhere else, and it's their time to have a one-on-one conversation with an outreach worker that can stay on top of their
Merits of referral.
merits of tabling. Sorry. So as Councillor Wolf said, any interruption in the service that we've already have going is going to disrupt and reduce services. I don't see a need to not go forward with the recommendations that are on the floor. It's the same amounts that we gave them last year, which is almost a little bit less to Refuge Church and a little more to Salvation Army, so that they can keep going. And if we don't do that now, then it's just going to be a question of whether it's happening for next week, and it's just going to keep causing confusion and stress for people that rely on this service. So there's no need to table this tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
I also agree, there's no point in tabling it. We've got the report from the staff, we got the report from the church, we got the report from Refuge, and we don't need to have any more reports to give the same level of funding that we did last year. This is just common sense. We have the money in the Council Initiative Fund. Let's get on with it.
Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I agree that I think we should table this, pause for a moment, make sure we have the full report, have a clear understanding of all the different services being delivered. We have contracts with a number of different organizations, including the Richmond Education Services Society. So there's a number of organizations delivering different and similar services, and to get a clear picture of where the actual holes are that the city needs to fill. Certainly, there's always a need. There's many needs. I heard today that, another organization is struggling and they're really needing some help as well. And, we want to help all the different groups, and so many of these groups do so much good work. But we need to be clear on how much money we're spending, how we're delivering it, what the services and programs are that are being delivered, and the processes that are being followed in order to deliver all those things. So I think we need the clearer picture, and I look forward to more information. Thank you.
Councillor Heed.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. There's lots of doublespeak going on here tonight, but regardless of the report that's coming forward next week in committee, we've got a crisis that we have to deal with now. And I'm sure whatever that report says and whatever direction we're going to go, it's going to add to what we need to do in Richmond, because as mentioned, there are several organizations in our community that are doing absolutely outstanding work, and we do need the larger picture. But I'd like to see anyone, after we get the larger picture, still deny this funding for these three groups. We're not talking about all the faith-based communities, all the social services here in Richmond that are providing care for people that don't have what many others have. We're talking about three specific groups, and we recognize the work they do. We want to give them the funding necessary to make sure that these people have a meal to eat each and every night. They're not going to go to bed on an empty stomach and hope they're going to wake up the next morning and be able to get something to eat. So I am opposed to tabling this, Mayor. I think we need to make a decision tonight as a council, and I think that's the expectations of the constituents here in Richmond, that we make these decisions and we don't delay these issues.
Fine. Before I go to Councillor Hobbs, I'm going to remind Councillor Heed, under our code of conduct, we speak respectfully, and we don't talk about double speak and that sort of thing. So please bear that in mind. Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair. Well, I did support at GP the motion that was put forward to defer it until we got the reports from staff, because we have asked staff to do a couple of reports. And so I did support at that time. Just on the merits of referral, the fact is that the three groups that we're talking about tonight do a lot of good work in the community that isn't being done. We've heard a lot about other levels of government giving up a lot of their share of the responsibility, and that includes funding. So there's just no question that the need is real, and there's no question, I have been out there and seen it, that the services being delivered are worthwhile and meaningful and provide a real service to people, including food. And so that's really important. The question I have is, if the tabling was to happen and it was delayed 1 week, the decision on these three and perhaps other organizations as well, does that cause any interruption to the services being provided? And I don't know if staff can answer that, but I think it's an important question. Is there an interruption in the services being provided right now if we delay it a week.
Dorothy, can you answer that? Do you know of any serious damage that's going to be done if we just put this off for a week?
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, most of the funding or the checks are being issued sometime end of March. And so if there is a delay in the decision, we could make sure that they will receive the funding by the end of March, as with any other organization under the Health, Social, and Safety Grant Program.
Okay, so to summarize that answer, a delay of a week does not interrupt the funding for the organization.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, no.
All right, thank you.
All right, so on the motion to table this to the General Purposes Committee meeting next week, all those in favor? Those opposed? It's defeated on a tie vote with Councillors Galanders, Day, Wolf, and Heed opposed. So now the main motion is on the floor, the two parts of it. I think that we need to put this into perspective. The reference has been made to all the need that is out there. There's just no question of need everywhere. But we have to, I don't know what some of the councillors are afraid of taking a bigger look at who should be getting the money, what are the services, what are we paying for, how are we supporting our community in so many ways. Each of these funding situations, and there's another one, the St. Albans, they were to be one time. Now we're being asked to do it again. It was all done on the basis that they would apply for other grants. They haven't done that. And I think, I'm still of the view that in order to support these and possibly other funding requests, we need fuller information that's going to be provided in that as the result of the referral motion. And so I'm not going to support this 1 and 2. And I can tell you what I will do is, if this is defeated, I will bring back this set of resolutions to GP next week. The idea that anything is going to collapse for a week's delay till we get a bigger, more fulsome account of the situation, I don't understand that, especially as our staff has said, those checks aren't going out to the end of March. So nothing is going to fall through the cracks. And so I don't know what the councillors are afraid of in seeing the bigger picture. So I'll leave it at that. Councillor Wolf.
Sorry, I'm just puzzled by, I think, being called out as being afraid of the big picture. You look this way and you just refer to code of conduct, so I'm not really clear what you're trying to say or have us fear-mongered out of making a decision. But anyway, my comments on this item. For one, the use of that phrase "one time," I think we can drop that. It's not the same situation as it was last year when it was called that one-time funding. Organizations have dropped their funding commitments and grants. Union Gospel Mission, the Richmond School District. The province doesn't have other areas for funding to come to support these organizations right now. So it's a different situation. It's not a second year of one-time funding. It's essential funding for the services provided by these organizations. I don't think there's anything that I would say I fear about knowing more information next week. I don't miss any meetings. I don't not read the stuff in front of us. So I will understand this big picture, I guess, that comes. Other ways that I think I understand the big picture is I attended the after-hours outreach ride along this weekend. I was out there for almost 4 hours in the cold and the wet, and to see the faces and shake the hands and deliver warm meals to people in need, that warmed me up inside. And I think the experience is something that unless you're afraid to do it, you might never get that opportunity to see what it actually looks like and to be in a tough situation in your life at this time. None of the people I met that night necessarily signed up to live this way. And so I think the fact that what we can do tonight is ensure that the people in these organizations don't say, to hell with this city, they're not committing, they're not supporting, I'll go help some other population in another city. The people who work in these in these organizations, they don't all live in Richmond either. They make the choice to support our residents. I don't understand why we wouldn't support the essential work that they do, at minimum up to keeping the maintaining the current level of service. Just very briefly, I'm almost done here. When it comes to the Refuge Church, there was only two options. So option 2 is that maintain current level of service. There was no option 3 to expand the services. So for me, number 2 is where we're at. With the Salvation Army, the second item on this what's on the floor is option 2, which is again maintain current level of service. Option 3 is that expansion of service. I hope to get information next week where we can maybe pick some or all of that expansion of service and see if there's funding opportunities from the same council community initiative account or maybe some other source. But so today at least, I'm willing to support those two, option 2 that are on the floor. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Yeah, I guess the reason I want to move forward with this is because it's a proven entity. We have an incredible success record from all 3 of these organizations, Refuge Church, St. Albans, and Salvation Army. Now, we're going to vote on St. Albans later because it's not on this particular motion. But I had a real problem with the report. When I read the report and it stated by staff, although several grant opportunities were shared with the organization through 2025, it has not applied for any additional external funding for 2026. So I checked because, I have the reports here from the organizations. And Refuge Church, for example, went to the province, went to the feds, went to the Illich Foundation, Union Gospel, Rotary. They even held a film festival and raised $20,000, and they went to other churches and got $10,000. So they've been out there. And the same can be said for St. Albans and for Salvation Army, the long, long list of places that they went to try to find funding. They're not asking for a windfall here. They're just asking to maintain the same services. And when you read the reports from them, the amount of services that were provided up to date include rehousing people, feeding people, helping people get into rehab, helping people actually kick drugs and get a healthy life again. And now many of those people are gainfully employed, and many have now gone into counseling and are helping other people, just like they were helped years ago. So this is a success story, and what I don't understand is why we wouldn't support organizations that are doing the work that we simply cannot do. Our staff cannot possibly manage the workload that these organizations do. So giving, I think it's $75,000 on option 1 to the Refuge Church, which will give us 2 outreach workers and countless meals, and giving $20,000 to Salvation Army to keep that food truck going is a bargain. So I'm going to vote for those absolutely 100% tonight.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair. One-time funding is supposed to be, in most people's minds, something that occurs once, you know, maybe you buy a refrigerator or something like that, or even help out with some staff. The request for funding from different groups is, I think, more than twice the allotted budget that we have for community grants. So we have a challenge there with the amount of requests we have and with the budget that we have allotted to it. And we'll have to deal with that as we move forward. I think that the reduction for these three in particular, even if we had tabled it till next week, is probably unlikely. You've heard some discussion about even increasing some of the funds, but I think that they would probably remain somewhat the same. And I'm not sure, as much as the reports we'll receive will be full of good information and very useful, I'm not sure that they'll change the three that are before us tonight. I think that we will have to consider changes next week and make some policy choices and budget decisions as we move forward. But for me, tonight is about the work that's being done by the three groups on the road, which is much the same consideration I had last week when we discussed this. And so tonight I will be supporting option 1 and 2 as recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. And yeah, I agree with the comments from Councillor Hobbs that we're not going to be, looking at reducing the funding for these guys next week. And this is a result of the referral that was made, as I said, and it is just to continue the same level of service. These are the groups that came forward in the grant application, same as last year. So there's not a whole bunch of other people asking for anything that we haven't already addressed. So this is just a continuation of what we're doing because we know it's working. We know it's saving lives. We heard from somebody last week that came to council or 2 weeks ago and to say that if it wasn't for specifically the warm meal delivered, the connection with after hours outreach and the people at the food truck, that they wouldn't be alive today. So, and I agree. I believe that all of council wants to keep funding these groups. But this is a result of this referral. There's no problem with just getting this done and then having that broader look, if there is a broader look coming and what that's going to look like ongoing. But this is for right now. I do have a question for you, Mayor Brody, is how would we go about adding the option 3, an item 3 that the funding option 2 for St. Albans of $26,416 be added?
We'll deal with 1 and 2, then we'll think about 3.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship.
All right, with that, Councillor Liu.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I agree with a lot of what's been said here. We know that these groups do a lot of great work, and I agree with that. My concern with this is the accountability piece. A big piece of this funding is to hire 2 outreach workers that are going to be managed and contracted by somebody else. We don't know what the contract is. We don't know what are the actual services they're delivering. How are they being provided? What is the process? I think we need to understand that. There is an accountability piece. These are Richmond resident taxpayer dollars being spent to provide services that are unclear. We tend to be concerned with other services that are provided in the city, whether or not they're being paid, say, a living wage or other items within that. And so those are concerns. And we do need to understand how the process is, because at the end of the day, we're on the hook for the service that's being provided.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, just quickly, Mayor, and we need to bring accountability back in the city, absolutely. It's not going to make any difference on these 3 right now. We're here to vote on these, 2 items and hopefully a third that we're adding right now. And I think, Councillor Liu raises a point, accountability. We need absolutely more accountability in every aspect of how we spend the taxpayer dollars. So I'm looking forward to that. But at this point, these 3 organizations deliver critical services, whether they have 1, 2, 3, 4 employees, whatever it is, I don't care, but I know they're delivering critical services, food to people that can't eat. So I absolutely will be supporting this.
All right, with that, I will call the question on 1 and 2. All those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried with Councillor McNulty, Councillor Liu. No. Councillor Liu and the mayor opposed. Now, Councillor Wolf, you wanted to add something.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so I'd like to I'd like to make a motion. And it's basically the same way that these ones are. I'm just replacing a name and an amount. So it would be the third part of this. That funding option 2 for the parish of St. Albans in the amount of $26,416 with funding coming from the Council Community Initiative account as outlined in the report titled Analysis of Financial Resources and Requirement of Parish of St. Albans. Requirements of Refuge Church, the Salvation Army, and Parish of St. Albans, dated February 13th, 2026, from the Director of Community Social Development, be approved. And
Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay,
thank you. Just very briefly. So at General Purposes Committee, I voted against that exact motion, and it failed. And as one of the persons in opposition, I consulted with the mayor to bring this back, as I am changing my vote to now be in support of the motion I read out. And then the only other comment I wanted to make is the reason why I was opposed to it, and kind of still am, is because I thought option 3 is actually the one that maintains the services, the current services. And you can read into a report or the submission by the Parish of St. Albans, where they highlight that the Richmond School Board discontinued in June 2025 the food hamper program, which provided 52 nutritious hampers each week to families with 245 individuals benefiting. So the fact that that is no longer being provided in option 2, to me, that is not maintaining the same level of service. It is a decline. However, in the application by Parish of St. Albans, it does say that the school district even though it was discontinued, it is looking for other funding sources. So maybe that will come. For me, I thought that would be an opportunity for a one-time city fund to support for 1 year while the school district hopefully secures some other funding source. But regardless of that happening or not, it's a little bit out of our control, I do support option 2. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. This $26,216 top-up will provide cold weather shelter, clothing distribution, free shower program, Saturday morning breakfast, foot care program, home hampers with food in them, 271 volunteer hours per week. And you can't even put a value on what you get for that very small amount of money. But the argument was made, or the statement was made by staff, that although several grant opportunities were shared with the organization throughout 2025, it has not applied for any additional external funding for 2026. That is incorrect. The grants were applied for by Second Harvest, Union Gospel, Honda Canada, Diocese of Westminster, and others. They also managed to raise some money in the church itself. So it's time. Let's give them their $26,216 and let them continue doing the work that they're doing. And I'm sure over the course of this next year, they will, as they have done in the past, continue looking for alternative sources of funding. But for now, let's keep it going. It's been successful. It's a lifeline to so many people.
All right. Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just real quick, I support the motion, and I just wanted to point to the report, page CNCL 122. For that amount, that was the option 2 that 4 of us voted in favor of. Councillor Wolf voted against it because he wanted to increase it, just making sure that was clear, but now he's taking his vote back to in favor when we vote on that. But Councillor Day referred to 26,216, but I just want to confirm that it's 26,416 as written in the report. And just so that we're clear.
That's the amount.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried with the same 3 opposed as before. That brings us to the public announcements and events. First of all, we have the 2026 appointment of a vacant position on the Advisory Committee on the Environment. And until December 31st of this year, it'll be Joanne Bart. On the Tourism Association, a midterm director, board director appointment, and Jennifer Chang has been appointed to that position to expire at the 2027 Tourism Richmond AGM. And then we have the another similar type of appointment. The following were appointed to the Richmond Tourism Association's Board of Directors for a further 2-year term to expire, it says, this has to be wrong, at the 2025 Tourism Annual General Meeting. In any case, the appointment has been made for Susan Steen and Janelle McKay. Then we just have a few general announcements. We have Pink Shirt Day. It's a reminder that kindness matters, and we encourage everyone to wear pink on Wednesday, February 25th, as we stand together against bullying and continue building a culture of respect and inclusion in our community. For information about local activities, visit our website /pinkshirtday. Then we have the Youth Employment Connections. We invite young people between the ages of 15 to 24 to attend an Employment Connections drop-in session on Wednesday, March 4th from 2:30 to 5 p.m. at the Brickhouse Library. This is an important free event. It brings together local organizations that support young people with job searches, skills training, and other resources. This isn't a job fair, but it's an opportunity to connect with helpful services. So again, go to our city website /community resources. And finally, we have the Lulu Speaker Series. Our Lulu Speaker Series begins on Thursday, March 5th, with an inspiring conversation about how waterfront spaces can bring people together. Guest speakers Magda Kwiatkowska and David Hutch will share the story behind the transformation of the shipyards into a vibrant public destination. The event begins at 6 p.m. at the Wilson School of Design, so if you want more information on that, go to our website /Lulu Series. Madam Clerk, bylaws for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is one bylaw for final adoption with no opposition.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And Development Permit Panel.
Thank you. One recommendation that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on January 14th, 2026 be received for information.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Someone move adjournment. Thank you. We're now adjourned.